Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to episode 307. My name is Rachel. I want to welcome you to this place that is woolen spinning. We've been at this now for over 10 years. It'll be 11 years in June, which is just insane. And the following June 2026 will be 10 years on Patreon. So we've got to organize something big for that because that is just crazy to me. Crazy. There's been a lot of life in the last 11 years, let me tell you. So good to see everybody. Thank you so much for being here in the chat today. We've got a very full show. I'm excited to do an Ask Anything today, which will be really fun. Yeah, it is cold here, but not as cold as it is in other parts of the country for sure, and other parts of the world. It's -2 this morning, which is like nothing, -2 Celsius. We didn't even have to scrape the cars. It was just beautiful, which was really nice. But it's been beautiful because there's been frost in the trees and in the branches. And it's not so cold that you can't not be outside. Obviously, it's only -2. But the sun, we have had so much sun. It has been so nice. And so often at this time of year here, it'll be like 20 or 30 or 40 days straight of just gray rain and 2, 3, 4 degrees and just rain. And this year we've had day after day of just this beautiful sun, not necessarily all day. That's okay. So I will take it. I don't mind the cold. I really actually quite like the cold because you get the sun. And so it's been lovely to look outside, and it's actually like quite bright because we just don't get that brightness. So it's been really a mood lifter for sure going into the new year. All right. In an effort to sort of try doing things a little bit differently and just kind of sort of covering our housekeeping a little bit more succinctly, because I sort of end up repeating myself every show and I was finding it tedious. It's all about me. I thought that we would try doing housekeeping just a little bit differently. So if there's anything here that you need more information about, do not hesitate to leave a comment below or reach out to me. You can also pause, maybe not during the live stream, but you guys can pause and take a screenshot of the information that you need, and you can ask me about it later, or you can just follow up on your own. So I'll see you on the other side. I hope that was helpful and very succinct. It's so lovely to be able to sit there and actually like watch what's going on and not have to sit here and try to speak to all of it. So I hope that was helpful. Go back and rewatch if you need to pause, if you need to look at something, if you missed something, it's there. And the first show of every month will do a little bit more of a little bit more information for housekeeping, and the second show of the month I'll update that sort of video, if you will, and each month so that it's accurate each month. So if there's anything that comes up over the next few weeks, don't hesitate to reach out. January 1st, Rebecca and I released the most recent episode of Woolen Spinning Radio. This is available wherever you catch your audio podcasts. I use Pocket Casts. It works really well. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but it just works really well for me. I listen to a lot of football podcasts, like soccer. So that's a great place to catch them. You would think I would listen to crafting and making podcast, but I listen to football. So this month we interviewed Megan of Bramble Ridge because she's doing the Breed Blends and Color Study for us, and she has sort of taken that over, and the links and everything that you need for that are in the posts in the down bar down below. Click on the Ketchup and Pickles for January 2025. I keep saying 2024, I think, but I mean 2025. Ketchup and Pickles is sort of the post that has all of the links for the month in it. And so if you're looking for a place that's a catch-all of everything each month, look for that Ketchup and Pickles post. That is what you want to sort of earmark every month of everything that's coming in our community. So I have kind of an exciting piece of news, and actually for little spoilers, you can see it on my wheel back here behind me. So back in December, Sweet Georgia Yarns contacted all of their spinning instructors and asked them if they wanted to create a colorway on spinning fiber. That was something that they were feeling really inspired by at this time and were interested in, etc. You know, sort of the colors that they were interested in, or a photo that was particularly inspiring, and so on. And if you watched Felicia's most recent Taking Back Friday, she spoilered, or maybe it wasn't on Taking Back Friday, maybe it was on the live office hours for the School of Sweet Georgia. It was on one or both. She spoilered all of the different colorways from all of the different spinning instructors. Anyways, so I get to share mine with you today. So mine is called Wesley's Field, and I will explain why in just a moment, but this is my colorway. And the photo that it was inspired by is actually this photo here. So this is actually on my in-laws' property out in rural Ontario. And here is part of the, it's not the tractor, but it's one of the hay baler wagon thingies. I can't remember what my father-in-law calls it, that was out in the field. And we were there at Christmas time quite a few years. We would go sort of every other year. And this particular trip was the whole time, it was -30, -35, -40. It was like particularly cold even for them, even though they're on a snow belt. And you expect really cold weather. For that year was particularly bad. And we got these gorgeous photos throughout the trip of sort of this twilight kind of type color to the sky and to the property that it was just beautiful. And we get these rich sort of peach colored, for lack of a better way of describing them, these peach colored skies. And so I pulled this photo, and I guess the Sweet Georgia team, when they were looking through the photos that I had sent them, they really liked this photo, and they liked the purples, and they liked that yellow dancing through the horizon there. This is right at dusk. And they chose this one. So the reason why my colorway is called Wesley's Field is because my father-in-law has, it's a Christmas tree farm. So the back 31 acres are different fields, and they're all different Christmas trees. And so each of the grandkids have a field, because there's 4 fields and there's 4 grandkids. So this particular photo is looking out over that sort of where the tractor trailer is. That's the word I was looking for. Where that tractor trailer is, and there's sort of that ridge there. That's actually a beautiful handmade stone wall. And behind that, and the tree, not the trees that you see that are full grown, but behind that retaining wall, that stone wall, is Wesley's Field, my little nephew. And he's just a ray of light. So when I realized that, I was pretty sure it was Wesley's Field, but I double checked with my father-in-law when we were naming the colorway, and I said to Doug, my father-in-law, I was like, I'm not sure, but is that Wesley's Field or is that Nora's? Like, I'm not totally sure. And he's like, no, that's Wesley's Field. So that's what we called the colorway, and that is why we called it Wesley's Field, because it sort of seems a bit random, but it's my dear little nephew, and he's a ray of light. He is he 6 now? 5? I think he's still 5. He's turning 6 this year. So, and then this is the colors that the Sweet Georgia team pulled out, and the colorway that they made. So because Sweet Georgia is unbelievably generous, they have sent a braid of the trifecta, which is BFL mohair silk. 75% BFL, 15% mohair, 10% silk. They have sent me a second braid, and I mean, I can have as many braids as I want, but and I can, you know, order them and stuff, but they sent me one as a you know, a courtesy for me. So mine's on my wheel behind me, but they sent me a second one to give away to you guys. So I'm not sure what we're going to do for the giveaway just yet. I haven't had a chance to sort of wrap my mind around what we're going to do, but that will be coming up in probably in February. We'll run that giveaway. But yeah, it was really fun to do this, and to, you know, it wasn't a lot of work on my end. All I had to do is submit a whole bunch of photos, and they actually pulled the colors, which was really cool. And then to see that process, because I've got some photos from what they did with my photo and where they pulled the colors from, and to sort of see what that looked like was really cool. So thank you for listening. And yeah, I felt really inspired by that, and I'm really, really happy to have been able to participate in that. So that is my colorway. All right, without further ado, let's get into the show. Yeah, great question, Christine. She said, for those of you who are in Canada, do you use Celsius or Fahrenheit? We use Celsius. Great question. And Wheezy said, they said their trifecta is delightful. It is. It's a new blend that they've just brought in. It is absolutely lovely. And actually, I have to say that because of what we've been doing with our breed blends and color study with the BFL Wensleydale mohair blend with sort of the intention and sort of the background of sort of it being socks. The trifecta, spinning it alongside, because it's got the BFL and the silk, but no Wensleydale, it would be really interesting for somebody to sort of look at the two and have the two colorways or the two bases being spun either back to back or at the same time, to just sort of compare and contrast the differences. Like you've got you know, similar base fibers, but you've got two completely different blends. So it'd be really fun for people to sort of have that opportunity to spin from both. You can also get the colorway in any of their other bases. So Corriedale, Targhee, there's a whole bunch. I have to admit, I kind of want it in Corriedale just because you guys know how much I love Corriedale. And I just plied up some Corriedale, and it just made me like fall in love with it even more. But I haven't pulled the trigger to actually order it yet, but I'm thinking about it. All right, we had a great question for Ask Anything, and you guys are probably wondering why my quill is sitting here, my Lendrum quill. And this is thanks to Dania. So let me switch over my cameras, and we will chat about all things Lendrum, quill, and Very Fast Flyer. Let's do it. I love that all of the instructors too for the School Sweet Georgia, like all the spinning instructors, we all created such different colorways. So I've been really, really tempted to order each of them on Corriedale, and then I'll have this one on Trifecta because it's kind of special because it's mine. But then I'll have all the other ones on Corriedale, and I can spin them up as kind of a collection. There's sort of been kind of mulling that over in the back of my mind. Okay, this was the question from Dania. She messaged us to me privately on Slack, and I've known Dania for a while now, and she messaged us and was sort of like, you know, I'm trying to make this decision. I'm not really sure. I think I've kind of figured it out, but you know, what do you think? And this was sort of a synopsis of her question. So she said, I've been trying to decide if I should purchase a quill head, which is this, and we'll talk about this in just a moment, but this is the quill head that she's talking about, or a very fast head for my Lendrum. I know you have the very fast head, and do you find that you get a lot of use out of it? Other than spinning cotton, what type of fiber is best spun on the Very Fast Flyer? So great question, Dania. And this is one of those questions that When I was first starting to spin other fibers outside of just wool, and we had this great conversation last week about this exact topic of like spinning wool and other fibers that I'll come back to in just a moment. I'm just going to stick a pin in that for just a sec. I didn't have anybody to ask. There wasn't anybody that had a Lendrum quill. There wasn't anybody that had a very fast flyer head for their Lendrum. Most people who had the Lendrum and had like had bought the Lendrum upright double treadle. I'm not talking about the Saxony, but the Lendrum upright double treadle. Most people didn't have any other pieces for it. They only had what came in the complete set. Like when you get the Lendrum double treadle, it's called the Lendrum double treadle complete because it's got your jumbo flyer, it's got your standard flyer, it's got your fast flyer, which is not the same as the very fast flyer, and so it gives you ratios of 18:1. Can't remember exactly what they are. Somebody help me out. I think it's 12:1, 14:1, and 18:1. I think that third flyer, the one that fits the standard Lendrum bobbins, but it just gives you that a little bit increased speed. I don't use my standard flyer on my Lendrum DT at all. I only use that one, and I only use 18:1. Surprise, surprise. I'm a very slow treadler. You guys know this. We've been over this a lot of times. So when I was first coming to all of this, I didn't have anybody to ask. Like I didn't know. And so I kind of ended up buying all of the things because I just didn't know. I actually did end up writing a very short editorial article for Ply Magazine at the time. And it's in one of the old issues. And to be honest with you, I have no idea which issue it was. I would probably be able to find it if I went through my collection. I probably remember. But if we go to the big camera for just a minute, let me talk through what the quill head is for just a second and answer any questions that come up in chat. So, and then we'll come back to Dania's specific question about the very fast flyer, which is back there on my Lendrum. You can see it right there, and I've got photos of it. That's why I didn't try to bring it any closer, versus the quill. So I'm going to be totally honest right up front. I do not use this. This has been a piece of equipment that I bought because I was curious about it. I had this opportunity to write this little editorial article for Ply Magazine back when Ply was still relatively new. I had gotten a quill attachment for my Hansen when I still had a Hansen mini spinner at that time, which I sold on to my friend Lynn Anderson of West Coast Color. And I didn't use it on there either, other than to rewind bobbins. And so when I got this, I sort of thought maybe I would do the same. And that maybe I would spend the time to learn how to use this and learn, you know, what it was capable of. I have not done either. There is two reasons for that. First is a time issue for sure. And that's one of those situations where like I just haven't made it a priority and made time for it. The second is that when this attaches to your Lendrum, when it's sitting out, because the Lendrum is quite a high wheel and it tilts like this, because I'm not very tall and because my legs have to still be able to reach the treadles, for me, because I'm not very tall, I can't reach the treadles and not have the quill like right jabbing into my stomach, basically. Like it's too close physically for me to be able to manage the quill because of where the Lendrum is in relation to my body. If I was a taller person and I could sit back further, or I could tilt the Lendrum slightly and my feet could still reach, problem would be solved. But for me, this ends up being a very real possibility that it could impale me. Now, it comes with a cover on the quill, and the reason for that is because of how truly sharp this thing is. It is really, really, really sharp, and so the whole like thought is you really actually should keep this on at all times other than when you're actually spinning. But I am going to take it off for just a minute because I put a leader on here when I was first learning how to use this, because I had no idea what I was doing and I wasn't support spindling yet. So I'm actually quite curious because Danny has asked this question. I had a dream about it last night. You guys would laugh. I had a dream about this last night because I was like, I wonder if I were to do this now, if my experience would be quite different. Because now with all my experience with support spindling, I think I would be more comfortable spinning off the tip now. But what you're doing is you're basically spinning off the tip And the reason for the leader was because at that time I couldn't get started without a leader in place. And if you're still using a leader, or you are using a leader, or you're being taught with a leader, like there is nothing wrong with a leader. Now I have the skill to be able to start my support spindles without a leader. But at that time I didn't have that skill. I wasn't even close. So you're spinning off the tip. So as this turns, you're spinning off the tip like this. And so you're sort of spinning off of it at a 45-degree angle. And then when you want to wind on, the idea is that you stop treadling and you wind on off the side up here like this. You wind on, and then you keep going off the tip like this. You spin, 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 stop the wheel, wind on, treadle, 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 and then you bring it back up. And eventually I have seen people, there are people in our community that spin with a quill or spin off of a walking wheel, and they are super smooth. They can amass a huge amount of yarn in a very short period of time. This is not a method of spinning that is not effective. Like, this is something that if you want to learn how to do this, you will be able to make a lot of yarn, long draw, woolen spun, true woolen yarns, like very quickly. So the way that this works is it sits on the Lendrum, and your drive wheel, your drive band, either goes across up here or in one of these two grooves down here. So it gives you 3 different ratios, and I can't remember what they are, but I know that this one down here is something like 64-1 or something, and this one up here is like 28 or 30-1. It's something like that, but it's a very, very fast, very, very fast. And I did end up, I can't remember what I was spinning on it and what I was trying to teach myself with and what the fiber was, but I do remember needing to add a little teeny tiny bit of oil in there, like just in between where the metal and the wood meet. There's a bearing in there, and I remember having to, at the time, drop a little bit of oil in there, mostly for cleaning, because bits of fiber get stuck in there. So that's the quill. I can't say I recommend it, but I can't say that I don't recommend it, because I think this is a study in and of itself. And I think that it's something that has a lot of potential. And I think that it's something that if it fits for you and it's the type of spinning that you want to do, there is definitely a place for it. I have personally just not found that to be the case, because there's other tools that I use instead of, mostly because this is so long and I am not very tall in relation to the Lendrum. If this was off to the side, like, and it was off center, and it was a wheel that I could add it to that was like the like more of a Saxony style, maybe I don't know. But being on a castle wheel and being right here, it just doesn't work for me. Like, there's just not enough space to work. But again, maybe I need to come back to it and give it another try. So instead of, yeah, see, Dion said the quill for the Rosie and the Susie might work a bit better because you can adjust the head. Because with the Rosie and the Susie, you can actually tip the maiden. You can tip it to one side or the other. So like when I'm spinning long draw, I'll tip the head over to the left and I'll spin out to the right. And it gives me that distance and that space to be able to almost turn it into like a Saxony wheel kind of. It's not the same thing, but just ergonomically. So yeah, that's a good point actually, Dion. I'm just checking the yeah, this is bobbin lead. Still, Amanda has a quill for her Elizabeth, but she said it's still unused. Oh, Lisa, what a kind comment. I love the idea of everyone's colorway. The instructors are such brilliant creatives. Thank you. You know what I loved seeing was how different everybody's colorways were. And because we all have such a different aesthetic, it was really fun to see how some of them coordinated with each other and some of them were totally different. I really enjoyed that. So getting back to the Lendrum very fast flyers. So to me, the quill and the very fast flyer head are kind of two different conversations, because the quill sort of does what it does really well. And I know Dania spins on a lot of supported spindles. So the quill, and she's taller than me. So I suspect that the quill would actually be quite fluid for you and quite natural and probably actually quite easy for you to master. However, this comes back to the discussion that happened last week in one of the spinning groups, was this idea of sort of wool versus other fibers. So here's a whole bunch of photos of all of the things that I have spun on my very fast flyer on my Lendrum. And I have done Angora Rabbit, I've done Pygora, I've done all of the different types of silks with the exception of peduncle, Tussa peduncle. I've done merino silk blends, cashmere silk blends, which actually are some of my most favorite yarns that I've ever spun. This is Angora here. This was more Angora. Some of it was spun on my Lendrum. Some of it was spun on my Kromsky Minstrel. This was some camel waist, like camel down, camel waist. I'll see if I can go back to that photo when it cycles through. But anyways, I did a video and it's available on YouTube. If you search Lendrum Very Fast Flyer, it should come up. If not, Danielle, let me know. But I did a video on threading this thing, and this is where it gets really difficult. So I just paused the slideshow for just a minute. So if you just can visualize for a moment. The Very Fast Flyer has these very small bobbins, okay? So this is they're fat core bobbins with the idea of alleviating some of the uptake pressure. And so you've got these fat core bobbins, so you don't actually have very much physical space to fill a lot of yarn, but you're spinning at really super high ratios on fibers that generally have very, very, very low micron count, so very, very fine. So fibers that are meant to be, that are going to want to be spun really fine, and therefore are also going to need a certain amount of twist. So like Angora Rabbit and Cashmere are great examples where they never feel like they're fully twist locked. You can put as much twist as you want into them. They just never feel like they're totally twist locked. So they are, it's just the way they feel. Like they feel like they can always take more twist because they're so fine. So because of that, the bobbins don't fit a ton of fiber. However, you're spinning fine. So they fit a lot of yardage, but it's because it's such fine yardage. So this photo here is actually after 30 minutes of spinning. So this goes into what I'm working on right now and one of my projects right now. So this was such a great question because it actually fits with what I'm working on right now as well. So we'll talk about them in tandem together, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this cotton when I finish telling you about all of this. So in a very roundabout way, this was 30 minutes of spinning, but what slows me down is when you need to replace a bobbin or when you need to thread your bobbin. And there's actually another photo in this collection of photos that's an even better photo of this. If you can see, and hopefully you can sort of get an idea, if you look on the bar on the arm of the flyer, on the right hand side here, there's like a line along the side that's quite dark. That's hollow. So you actually reach the threading hook, which I have right here. This is the threading hook. Like you can't even see it. It's so crazy. It's this crazy threading hook. It's super, super fine. It's super, super tiny. I just tied this on so that I could hang it. So just ignore the 8-2 cotton, but it's this really fine, weird hook. And you thread that through the side of the, let me see if I can find the photo that's really excellent. Here we go. You see those little dots at the front of the flyer there? You thread that through and into that hollow arm, and you pull your singles through, and then you do it again through the orifice of the wheel and you pull it through. My only major complaint about this flyer is getting it threaded. It is a pain to get it threaded, and it takes a while. So I've been spinning for 30 minutes every day, and I've been working on this brown cotton, and it's been really, really fun. I've been really enjoying working on it. This is from Cotton Man in North Carolina, and I've got 2 bobbins now that are full of this cotton. And I have an entire pound of they call it Roven, but it's brown cotton. It's actually from his neighbor. So when you look on the website, it's Upland Cotton, and it's from his neighbor's cotton. And it's this brown. And Melissa of Melly Knits and I tried to blend it with wool, And she did a couple of experiments and I did a couple of experiments, and no matter what, like, we just could not get it to blend. But so I was like, well, what am I going to do with all this cotton? I've got this entire pound of it. Like, what am I going to do? So I just, on a whim one day last week, because I've been doing 30 minutes of cotton spinning every day. So this is 30 minutes. This is 2 30-minute sessions. There was more on this, but this was over 30 minutes of cotton spinning. This was on some Pima Egyptian cotton. And I've been spinning through it, and like all of a sudden it feels like this is doable, because actually in 30 minutes, once you get the Lendrum Fast Flyer going, and you've got it threaded and you're not breaking every 2 seconds, that's what really slows you down, is if everything keeps breaking and you're not getting enough twist into your singles, because it has to turn so many corners and it's going through metal. If there's weakness in your singles, they will break, and you're going so fast that it just flies right onto your bobbin before you can stop it. You can't get the wheel stopped and stop it from running up onto your bobbin. It's just running way too fast. So the ratios of this flyer, there's 3 of them, and I can't remember. I looked the other day and I was actually really surprised at what the ratios were. It's 26-1, 30-1, 36-1, and 44-1. So for this cotton project, I've been running this cotton at 36-1, which sounds really super fast, but actually it's been kind of perfect. The singles have made, where are my plyback tests? They seem to have run away. Darn, I have plyback tests to show you. They're gone. They probably got brushed onto the floor somewhere. Bummer. Anyhow, they're really beautiful. They're really firm. They've really nice twist. I'm going to ply as I have 2 bobbins done. Once I have a bobbin finished and I do a second bobbin and I get that bobbin finished, I'm just going to keep plying as I go to keep myself going. This has been spinning up beautifully. But when I first started spinning this stuff, and I was just getting used to it, especially the white Pima cotton, the Egyptian cotton, this was really, really difficult to get enough twist into, and I was finding that it was breaking every 5 seconds, and then I was constantly trying to rethread the Fast Flyer, and it's just a menace to thread. Like, once you get it running and you get it going, it's fine. If you look on the flyer photo there, and one of the other photos has an even better picture, the little guides are like these little wire guides that are sort of, they're not, they've kind of been made to fit the flyer, because I'm sure there's really not anything else that really fits on the flyer itself. They're a bit of a pain because they move, so they don't stay put on the flyer arm. They kind of shift. And so if you have your uptake at a certain amount, it'll like pull the flyer into the bobbin. So you can see it here. It's on the right hand side there. It's on the left hand side there, and it's kind of going through. I do have it cross laced. I'm not going to go into why I cross lace and stuff. There's lots of blog posts and stuff that I've written out there about cross lacing. But it's going through that, and when the uptake and the break band at the top there, it has to be firm enough to get things to come, like to go onto the, that's the other thing, is I find I run my uptake more firmly on this flyer than I do in my other spinning. Is it fast? Yes. It has a hum. It hums. You can hear it. It hums a little bit. It kind of, it's got like this because it's just going so fast. But yeah, it's the threading. The threading is a pain. So what I would say is, if you can even get the Very Fast Flyer kit still from Lendrum, I don't know if you can. Gord is basically retired now. Whether the company is changing hands or not, I don't know. But if you can get a Very Fast Flyer set or get a second hand, this is the camel waist that I spun on this wheel. This is a 3-ply, extremely fine. I wouldn't have been able to spin this on anything that didn't have these ratios. I spun this at 44-1 and it would have fallen apart otherwise. It just needed so much twist to hold it together. So I'm glad that I have it. I also have the same flyer head for my Lendrum Saxony, and I have used it a few times, but it's quite noisy. It's quite chatty. Not chatty, that's not right. It hums. It's quite loud on the Lendrum Saxony. So on the Saxony, if I run the very fast flyer, it does make quite a bit of noise. It's not my favorite. However, again, I probably, like the quill, need to play with it a little bit more. I have 28-to-1 on my Magicraft Susie, or is it on my Rose? Which one do I have that's 28-to-1? I think it's both of them, 27 on one and 28 on the other. So in some ways, I don't need the 44-to-1 and the 30 and the 36-to-1. I could just treadle more. But it does solve a problem, for sure. It does solve a problem. So, yeah. I think that, yeah, I hope that helps, Danny. I can't give you a yes, you should absolutely buy it, because it really depends on what you want to spin. This led to the other discussion in Spinners group, where all of these fibers and all of this other stuff is really fun to spin. And we were all, we were saying how much we enjoy spinning all of this stuff, and it's really fun to play with, and it's really neat. I've done all this stuff for the School of Sweet Georgia and for the Patreon, spinning all these different fibers and giving you guys tips and tricks and the different wheels and how they all run differently for different fibers. And this was 100% cashmere that was just, amazing to spin. But there's nothing like wool. There's just nothing like wool and spinning wool. And we all, all of us in Spinners group was like, wool is so amazing. So I think that's part of the conversation too, is what do you see yourself spinning for the majority of your spinning career? And then deciding from there what you want to invest in. Like Ellen, for example, she spins a huge amount of her stuff on her, is it what's your wheel called, Ellen? I've just gone totally blank. But it's a spindle wheel, and it's got, and she's spinning off the tip. But what she spins is mostly woolen, and it just makes sense. So yeah, I think it really depends on what you want to work, what you want to do, and what you want to make, and what's your priority. I don't find the, great question, Eve. She says, do you find the Rose hard to treadle at 28-to-1? I don't at all, but I do often use my lace flyer and my lace bobbins when I'm running it that fast. Yes, a pendulum wheel. Thank you, Lisa. She has a walking wheel and a pendulum wheel, and that works for her. And she spins beautiful, beautiful yarns. Thanks, Lisa. Rebecca said, that's why I'm glad it's the wool circle. We always keep coming back to wool here. It's true. We always come back to wool. I think for most of us, wool is kind of our happy place. This was a silk blend, a merino silk blend. You can see the finished yarn up there in the corner, and it was beautiful to spin. This is a close-up of it. It was beautiful to spin, and I enjoyed it, and I love it, but it's still in my stash. I'll probably weave with it eventually, but I would have enjoyed it just as much if it had been a toothier wool, and it would have been a little bit, and I could have used a conventional wheel as well. So, all right, let's move along. I'm so excited to share with you my project. One of the things I've been working on, because it is going so fast. I cannot believe it. So let's talk about that next, and I'll grab it. Okay, so I have Spindling to show you guys. So these are those Rolags that I've been working on. This is not meant to be super even, consistent yarn. This is meant to be textured, and it's meant to be uneven, and it's meant to be inconsistent. This is another bobbin. This is one of the Mirkwood spindles. I love this spindle. It's heavy now, it's full. This is really full. This is my Silly Salmon. It's also very full. I could barely keep it going. It's so heavy. It has several Rolags on it as well. And my whirl, my hollow whirl spindle from Maudsley Fiber Arts. I love this spindle. This is my next, I've got to fill this up more. I can definitely fit a lot more on here. I just kind of abandoned it for some reason. I don't know why. I put it down and then I couldn't find it. And then I realized it was in the bottom of my bag. And I was like, but I guess I thought in my mind that I put it off to the side or something to talk about on the podcast. And so it couldn't have possibly been in my spindling bag. Anyways, this one needs to get filled up with the rest of the Rolags. And then I'm just finishing up. This is also a Mirkwood spindle. This is my POC. This is my absolute most favorite spindle that I own. I love this spindle. I don't know why. It's got a nice weight to it, and it's just like a really, the shaft is the right thickness to flick for me, but there's nothing really special about it. It just is my personal favorite. If I had to give up all of my other spindles, I would keep this one. And I'm almost down to the last 5 Rolags. Like, I cannot believe how fast this spin has gone. These Rolags are 62% organic Polwarth, 16% mulberry silk, and then 22% Sari silk. So Katrina had added in the Sari silk and then a very, very, very thin layer of organic Polwarth over top to kind of lock it in. And then they pulled the Rolags off of the carder after that. And there was about, I think there was 14 Rolags in total, and I'm down to the last 5, which this, when I did this project before with the pink yarn, the pink Rolags, which I think I had a photo of that I showed you guys last time, I think. Yeah, it's right here. This was the previous colorway that I did, and then I had bought this other colorway. So very similar. This is a 3-ply. This is probably going to be a 3-ply as well. That other spin took me like a year. Like, it felt like it went on and on and on. Like, I just could not get through it. This has gone, I started this at the beginning of January. Like, crazy. It's only the 21st today. It's nuts. So I've only got 5 more Rolags. This Rolag will get finished today. And I haven't been doing one per day like I had sort of set out to do, because I find that one Rolag takes about an hour and 15 minutes. And by the evening, I want to read. And we haven't really been watching TV or anything. It's just I want to sit. Last night I read for over an hour. I've just been really enjoying that quiet time of sitting and reading. And I'm reading a really interesting memoir right now called, what's it called? Telling Secrets. Can't remember his name. My brother gave it to me, actually. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. You know, survival of capital T trauma. And he talks about his life and forgiving people. And yeah, really, really, really interesting. And so I thought that I would sort of have these done by now because I was getting through them so quickly, but I've also been really enjoying this other time as well. So it sort of slowed me down a little bit, but holy smokes, this is going fast. And the Sari silk and the, I'll just show you guys really quick. I hope that you can see if I set up my spinning spoon here and I just show you a little bit about how I've been drafting out. So you see how as I draft, you get these big chunks of the Sari silk coming through and the twist kind of runs up into it. What I've been doing is holding it here so that I'm drafting about the same amount every time. And then as I add the twist, I just very gently draft out a little bit more until it's twist locked. So now it's twist locked here. I add a bit more twist and then I leave it. I haven't been trying to go back and draft through that Sari silk and create these like really smooth areas of yarn. Because what happened with the other one was I micromanaged all of that. So you see how I can kind of just hold it a little bit, draft it a little bit, it's twist locked, and then I've just been wrapping it right on. I haven't been doing a temporary cop either. I've been putting it right onto the spindle itself. Because I found with the other one, these little kind of like bumps of the Sari silk, when I plied, they all got squished down anyways. So going back and micromanaging them now in the spin, it doesn't make any sense because it's all going to get squished down in the plying. So instead, making sure that it's nicely twist locked, that it's got that it can that it's not going to break when I rewind them and get them onto bobbins ready for plying. And instead just making sure that as I'm drafting out, that I'm drafting the same amount, the same distance each time. So I've been pulling my hand back the same distance, adding a bit of twist, and then wrapping on. So you can see how much faster this is. Like I can make a lot more yarn more quickly. And then just give it a tug, make sure it's twist locked, add a little bit more twist, and onto the spindle. So a little bit smoother. I think also an experience maybe too. Just feeling a lot more confident about my supported spindling and feeling like, okay, I've got like many hours now at a support spindle. I know what I'm doing. I know how far I can push the yarn. And I also know that I don't want to have, when I go to rewind it all, I also don't want to have just constant areas that are weak or are going to break, where my joins aren't very good. That's no fun either. Just going back to the cotton for a minute, I meant to show this to you guys, and it was underneath everything, and I didn't get a chance to show you. And I found my ply back tests. So let's just back up for just a minute. Oh, Rachel. So this is the Egyptian cotton, the Egyptian Pima cotton. Yeah, white Egyptian cotton that I've been spinning. So this is the ply back test here of what I was spinning and working on. You can see the little bumps there. Very, very just beautiful. It's hard to see like the individual bumps and the individual twists, but it's a really nice looking yarn. Anyways, because I had just started my 30-minute a day practice of spinning cotton, and I'm only doing 5 days a week. So like I spun for 30 minutes my cotton on Saturday, so then I skipped yesterday because Sunday I'm not putting any pressure on myself to do anything. Sundays, for the first time in a very, very long time, are days that aren't quite so busy and quite so where we don't have to be a bajillion places all at once. We really only have Nora's game, which is about an hour and almost 2 hours by the time we get there and get back, but like that's it for the first time in many, many years, which has been a huge blessing, just to kind of slow down and actually have a day of rest. So because I was just starting my 30 minutes a day practice at that time and sort of getting into this, you can see that there's some areas of this cotton that are quite uneven, but I did ply up this little sample because I wanted to see like, okay, you know, here's a sample from the very beginning when I first started this 30 minute a day practice. White Egyptian cotton 2-ply. I want to see how this compares to what I ply next, and then what I ply after that, and then what I ply after that, because I'm going to keep plying up this Cotton Man stuff as I go, because I only have 3 bobbins, 3 very fast bobbins. So this is the ply back test of the Cotton Man cotton. Let me see if I can pull it tightly for you. This is it here. Isn't that beautiful? Just gorgeous. And it's spinning up very evenly. So it'll be interesting to see that first skein that I ply, if it plies up as evenly as I think that it will. Whether or not my expectations are met, or if it's a planned disappointment. So we'll see. Because when I first started spinning it, it was quite thick and thin. And I was sort of getting the hang of it, but I could see how just after 4 or 5 sessions of half an hour, how it just started to really even out. So that'll be really interesting. Thanks, Lisa. Rachel is kind of a good spinner, am I right? Thank you so much. I love that. I know, right, Rebecca? I love that he's the Cotton Man. Like, he really is Cotton Man. If you look for cottonman.com or something, he's located in North Carolina. I found out about him through Melissa of Melly Knits. He really is just Cotton Man. And then remember back in the fall, I had finished plying up the last of my Houser yarn. It was the combo spin. It was some was it Targhee? I have to look it up. Was it Targhee? It was from Katrina. It was deep, deep, deep stash. I'm pretty sure it was Targhee. And then it was Polwarth and silk that I added in with it. Yes, it was Targhee. And then Polwarth and silk. And I had also added in some Sari silk. And I applied it all up. And I kind of just put it aside because I had a partial bobbin of Houser yarn that was plied the first step where you up ply the 2-ply. So you take your singles that are spun in the same direction and you put them together and ply them. You up spin them in that same direction together as if you're trying to create a 2-ply, but because they're spun in the same direction that they were spun as singles, they kind of just lay next to each other. They never really pop together as a true 2-ply. So I had that sitting on a bobbin since all of that plying that I did, because it was the last little bit. And I thought that I had more Targhee and more of this Polwarth silk in my stash, and I do have the Polwarth silk, but I don't have any more of the Targhee, so I can't make any more yarn, which is totally fine. I'm kind of done with this project anyways, So over the weekend, I plied the last little bit. So this is Housered. It's not washed and finished yet, but it is the last of the yarn. It is done. And the final step with Houser yarn is you take that up spun yarn, and you take the two plies and you 4-ply it in the opposite direction. So this is finished off in the S spun direction, or the counterclockwise direction, because I unspin my yarns as I knit. So I need my yarns to be finished to the left, anti-clockwise, or S, spun S. So this is what it looks like. I think the camera's a bit bright. You're getting a little bit of glare on the yarn because of this silk. Let me just turn down that camera. That's a bit better. I'll turn it up again in a sec, but you can see it a little bit better. Isn't that gorgeous? Some people say that Houser yarns look like 2-plies, which I think is a really interesting comment. I had never really thought that before, but I totally get why people think that. I've always thought of them as looking like 4-plies, because you've kind of got these 2 singles that sit together, and then these other 2 singles that sit together that are both really tightly spun, and they kind of wrap together. So I've always kind of thought of them as being looking like 4-plies. I'd never really thought about them looking like 2-plies, that those 2 singles are so tightly spun that they almost look like 1 singles and then wrap together. But I can see why people think that, and why you would come to that conclusion, because it's almost like each of the 2-plies almost kind of wrap together like this, that it creates a bump that looks like a 2-ply. And that's the first time that I kind of heard that, was the discussion that went on in the Wool Circle after people started sharing their experiments. And I was like, I've never really thought that before, but I can totally see now, looking at my yarn, why you would jump to the conclusion that it's a 2-ply without looking closer. I thought that was really interesting. I think it was Esther and Rebecca that had first made that comment. I thought, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder, but I can see it now. I see it. I totally get it, which I thought was kind of fun. So that needs to be washed and finished, and that project is done. I have already swatched. I have no idea what I'm going to make with it. I am kind of sick of sweaters. I know, heresy. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I don't know. I don't have enough yardage to make a really massive sweater. I have enough to make a pullover, which I think I'll probably do, but I'm not sure. And we will see. We will see. All right, let's see what's next. What is next? What I'm spinning. Oh, what I spun over the last little while. Let's talk about that. I have so much yarn that I need to weave as accents, Lisa. That's actually what I was thinking about doing this winter, was going through my stash and looking at what I have that I might want to put into weaving, because I have so many yarns, like the ones that I'm going to show you in 2 seconds, that would be amazing as overshot or summer and winter or crackle supplement. So those weave structures are what we call supplemental weave structures, and that means that you've got your plain weave ground, and so you've got your yarn for your warp, and you've got your yarn for your weft that's going over, under, over, under, over, under, and then you have another pattern superimposed over top of that in another yarn, and that's what gives you that look. And I've done lots of scarves in overshot, and it's one of my favorite things to weave, and there's lots of different patterns that you can do in crackle and summer and winter. There's so many options. It's like just not even, it's hard to wrap your mind around actually all these supplemental weave structures. But because I have all of these yarns that I'm making, I'm like, ooh, overshot scarf, ooh, overshot scarf, ooh, oh, another one. Now all I can think is overshot scarf, of all these different yarns. So I found another, I'm back on my, or I haven't really left, I'm back on my Grab-a-Braid, don't think about it, sit down and just start spinning it thing. So the one that I grabbed last week, so I did my Bramble Ridge. If you guys are wondering what I'm talking about and you're not kind of picking up what I'm putting down, go back to the last episode, to 306, and I talk about this whole just starting to spin a braid. I haven't done anything with them. I've just started spinning. Why I got a bit obsessed about this. So the most recent one that I did this past week was Nest Fiber Studio. You can't really see it, in Fluorite. So this was Finn from 2017. 2017. 2017, March of 2017. And the reason why I didn't spin this one right away was because I actually wasn't really super keen on the colors. The turquoise and the purple and stuff, they're these sort of jewel tones. These colors make me think of Katrina. They make me think of Rebecca. They make me think of a couple of other friends, not myself. And it's not that I can't not wear them. They're just not colors that I tend to be drawn to right away. Anyways, but this was the braid that was in the bin that I opened, and so this was what I had to spin, and I loved it. This was Finn. I spun it. I didn't do anything. I didn't do a thing. I literally sat down, grabbed the one end, and started drafting, and what came out is what came out. So this will be applied as a center pull ball because I had the best thing happen last week, and I was so pleased. And now I'm kind of regretful that I don't have a photo of the original braid, which was kind of too bad. And I really should run the credits here for Skeined for another section, but I don't want to interrupt my train of thought. So Rebecca, timestamp here for Skeined. So this is finished. This is washed. This is photographed. This is finished. This was one of the braids that I had done. I showed you the bobbin last week, or last time. And this is Corriedale. It's Hello Yarn in Nestle Road. It was December of 2020, Fiber Club. And again, this was one of the braids that was in the bin, and I just grabbed it, pulled it out, started spinning. And it was incredible because I wish I had a picture of the braid. Like I didn't even think about it. I just started spinning. I probably need to find somebody else's stashed photo, like of their Nestle Road, because what ended up happening, and this is, I'm trying to open it up so that you guys can see. What ended up happening was I started at the one end of the braid and I started spinning. And I started spinning and I started spinning. And I just kept spinning and kept spinning and kept spinning. And you guys know what Corriedale is like for me. Corriedale and me are like jam and peanut butter. We're like chocolate and salted caramel. We just go hand in hand. And Corriedale for me is like if I don't want to think, I want to completely turn off. I don't want to, have to like manage my hands or change the way I spin. I want to spin totally default. Corriedale is that wool for me. Some people it's BFL, some people it's like Targhee. For me, it's Corriedale. I could spin it all day. And what ended up happening was I spun through the braid from one end to the other, and I wasn't paying any attention to the colors. So then when I wound the center pull ball and started applying, I was like, well, this is kind of cool because the purple was all matching up. And I was like, well, that's kind of neat. That purpley gray, it's all matching up. What a cool thing. And then I got to the mauvey purple and I was like, oh, the mauvey purple's all matching up too. I wonder how long this is going to go on for. And I was kind of like laughing at myself a little bit because I got into here and I got into here and it was all still matching up. And you can see there's a little bit of nuance and a little bit of interest. It created a gradient without even intending to, all the way through to the dark brown. It just worked. And I'm so glad that I didn't double think doing a center pull ball. I just did it. I didn't think about it. I just did it. And it created this absolutely beautiful skein of yarn that in an overshot scarf, going from the light to the dark, using the entire skein for the float work, for the patterning from beginning to end, like how beautiful would that be? And you could do a ground, your ground could be a neutral, it could be a cream or a really super light gray, or it could be something really dark. Like I know Amanda Buckley will sometimes put like really dark ground. She'll do black or dark brown or navy. And it just makes everything moody and it just brings the intensity out and it just makes things, so it intensifies everything, right? We talked about that a lot in our year of color. I could put it with gray. It would dull it. It would mute it. It wouldn't change the value, light or dark particularly, but it would just mute it. white or cream would brighten it and lighten it. But yeah, I just thought, like, how cool is that? I didn't plan, I didn't think, I just spun, and it paid off. That's right, peanut butter jelly time. That's right. Now we're gonna have a dance. Peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time. So it was likely dyed with the fiber folded in half long wise. I think so. I think so, Dorothy. I said, and I didn't look at the braid that closely. For anybody who has Hello Yarn, who is part of their club, I'm not anymore, but I was for a year or two there during the pandemic. She doesn't braid her fiber. She just puts it in the bag for you and ties up the top kind of thing. So you get it as sort of a bundle of fiber. And I think that's partly why I didn't photograph it. I didn't think about it. I just kind of started spinning. And I always photograph everything because of you guys and because of the podcast. And I like to see what things look like and then what it comes out in as the yarn. So I was kicking myself of all the ones not to take the time. But it's fine. It doesn't matter. I got beautiful yarn. I don't know what the yardage is. I suspect it's somewhere in the realm of 350 to 400, maybe 420, but somewhere in there. It's sport weight. I don't know if I have a wraps per inch tool right here that I can give you the wraps per inch, but I suspect the wraps per inch are about 18 under a slight amount of tension. So, you know, woven at 18 ends, if I used, I don't know, maybe a 10-2 cotton, for the ground, and then this could be the float work over top, maybe. I don't know, I'm just spitballing. Maybe I'm completely off. You could even do like a pinky mauve for the ground. That would be really pretty. A pinky kind of a rose, a dusty rose. That would be really pretty for the ground. Anyways, now I'm thinking about weaving. Do I have anything else to share with you today? I didn't get anything worked on for my knitting. I'm still working on my Pink Velvet by Andrew Mowry. I'm not sure what I'm going to take with us on our trip to the UK next month. We're gone for about 17 or 18 days, and I'm not sure what I'm going to take in terms of projects to work on for knitting. I'm actually tempted to pull some of my hand spun out and take a few pairs of socks, just because they're small and I can pick them up and put them down. My main concern is actually the plain and having something to work on. But I definitely don't want to take a sweater to work on, so I'm not totally sure what I'm going to do about that. I'm going to start thinking about that in the next week or so. I can't wrap my head around some of this stuff just quite yet because there's still stuff going on here. So yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do about all of that. Let's get into community participation before the show goes on all day, which is totally a possibility. But, you know, sometimes we want to go and do other things. Sometimes. Okay, I'll see you guys on the other side. You know that yarn that's in that photograph that's just at the end of the community credits? You just saw it flash on the screen. That's got those greens in it and whatnot. That was a colorway from Lynn Anderson of West Coast Color from a few years ago, more than a few years ago probably. And you know, that was another one of those autopilot spins where I just sat down and started spinning and plied from a center pull ball, and I just loved the results. It's funny how you get those spins sometimes that are like that. The only reason why I haven't plied my Bramble Ridge from last time that I was sharing with you guys, that the bobbins are right here. And the only reason why I haven't plied them yet is because I wanted to do 3 plies. So I just have to like wind them off onto bobbins that are relatively equal weight and get that plied. And I just, you know, it feels like there's more involved. It just feels like it's a little bit more, there's a little bit more work to get that done, and that's fine. It's okay. It's just that it feels like there's more to do, more work, and that's okay. All right. So Embarking on 2025. How is it 2025, you guys? Please tell me, how is this a thing? So I wanted to just share with you some of the things that people have been working on just as we've started the new year. It's not really anything like in particular. But that yarn, Eve, that yarn became the Pantone yarn. That became the ranunculus. The ranunculus pullover, which actually I've worn a couple of times and I love, but now that it's so cold, I can't wear it because it's short sleeved. Oh, that's a cool idea. Evelyn, she says a 24-hour all day spinning madness fundraiser for 10 years of woolen spinning. That's a cool idea. That's a really neat idea, Evelyn. I don't know if I could do 24 hours, but we could try. All right. Talking about Evelyn, I'm going to call this my Breed and Color Study sweater. Okay, before we go any further, I would just like to say that when I saw this in the thread, in the feed, in our community feed, I gasped. I literally went, so like, Evelyn, I know this ended up being a little bit of a labor of love because you ended up, the Icelandic ended up misbehaving badly enough that it created a fabric that was very stiff and uncomfortable, that she cut it out of the finished sweater and then grafted the pieces back together. She said after she grafted the body of her husband's sweater back together last year, she swore she wouldn't do that again, but she was wrong. Other than that, when I saw this, I just thought, like, what an amazing job and what an incredible way to showcase these yarns. What an awesome amount of spinning. And what a great sweater. Like, it looks fantastic. It looks phenomenal. So the black is Wartbulls. The light brown, the dark brown is BFL. The light brown is a blend of white and brown Finn. And then the white is Romney. The light gray is a blend of white and gray Corriedale and Merino. And then the dark gray was the Icelandic, which she cut out. Isn't that cool? Oh, Dorothy, we're playing with fire here. I don't personally have to spin for 24 hours, Dorothy says. The woolen spinning community across multiple time zones would have to spin for 24 hours. Can you imagine having a 24-hour spin along? Oh my gosh. Open up a Zoom room for 24 hours and see how many people we could get in 24 hours coming and going. That'd be really fun. I remember the date too that I pressed publish on Patreon. It was June 16th. So if we did it on June 16th, like how fun would that be? And it's like 2 days after my birthday, which would be even funner. That's not even a word, but you know what I mean. This is from Wheezy, their current sweater spin, which I wanted to say is just a beautiful color. Beautiful color. I love that. This is from Marilyn. I saw this sweater and I gasped. I just thought how beautiful it was. What I really liked about this was the purples. So as it stripes down, it looks, while it's sort of random in the way that the color, that the stripes go, there's enough of a pattern to it that it doesn't feel crazy or like your eye doesn't know where to go. It's really brilliant, Marilyn. Like, this is really, really, really beautiful. Finally finished the sweater from Handspun. I never match gauge and thus decided to try to figure out the math myself and draft my own sweater. Well done. The neck and yoke area and related maths and shaping always perplexed me. I just wanted a simple t-shirt like sweater, and I recently heard on a podcast, maybe Andrea Mowry, not to be afraid of ease, and I realized that I was. So in most areas, I added more ease than I normally would, and I'm happy with it. It worked out great, and I'm happy. This is a combo spin, mostly of Polwarth silk, and merino. This is my third sweater knit for 2024. It's a record for me. That's amazing, Marilyn. Yeah, Rebecca says the stripes are so perfect. I totally agree. Oh, Christine, you guys. Nicole's putting it in her diary. June 16th. 24-hour rolling Zoom meeting. Okay, but our 10-year anniversary isn't for a year and a half. We're planning something for 2026. Oh my gosh, Eve. What time zone kicks it off? Pacific. You guys are too much. I love it. We're planning for a year and a half from now. Watch out, you guys. It's going to be big. June of 2026, 10-year anniversary. Maybe this year we should do like a run-up, we're getting ready for. This is from Christine. I love this skein, and I thought it was so neat that the book underneath said the simple things. I thought that was very timely. The first skein of the pear Shetland plied is washed and measured. Beautiful yards per pound. She got it 1,050. I wanted to finish the first skein to make sure that I was happy with the finished yarn before plying the rest. Christine, this is awesome. A lot of people will ply an entire project and they get to the end of all the plying and they sort of look at the yarn and they're like, oh shoot, this isn't really what I like, or they start knitting with it and it's not really what they like. So definitely ply up a sample and see what you think. You can always make changes. You can add more twist to your singles. You can take twist away. You can add more singles to your plying, make a 3-ply instead of a 2-ply. There's always things you can do to make yarn that you love. I should end up with somewhere between 1,100 and 1,200 meters of finished yarn. That's amazing, Christine. That's what, like 1,400 yards? That'll be perfect. I love you guys so much. Dorothy says, yes, we need to train for the 10-year anniversary spin-off. I love it. You guys are amazing. Amanda's wondering if maybe we should end the 24 hours on the 16th. Oh my goodness gracious. We should do a 12-hour spin along. You guys are amazing. I love it. This year, a 12-hour spin along. Next year, a 24. We'll do a warm-up, Amanda says. You guys are so funny. I love it. I love it. Dion says, I'm loving this sweater knit. This fabric is, she created this on her drum carder. And this was yarn and a sweater that she designed and created, like designed the yarn, I mean, for her daughter. And it's going to have contrasting, I think one sleeve is going to be brown. That's like the new thing. Nora was asking me for a sweater the other day. She wants one sleeve to be a different color. I saw it recently on a photo somewhere, maybe on Instagram or something. And it's quite, I kind of like it. It's kind of neat. And then cuffs and collar are going to be contrasting. But man, just beautiful fabric, Dion. Beautiful fabric. Oh, see, Evelyn, I can get on board with that. She said we also need to train for Tour de Fleece. There you go. This is from Carolyn. This yarn is just beautiful, Carolyn, and it matches what you were wearing in this photo. Finished these 4 skeins yesterday. It's a worsted weight 2-ply merino alpaca blend. 2 more skeins to ply and finish. They're white, and I plan to use them in a mosaic knit, hoping that the yardage will be enough. Beautiful, Carolyn. Really, really pretty. I love that denim-y blue, kind of gray. It's really, really lovely. Oh, good to know, Christine. The Simple Things is a UK magazine that she found in the supermarket last year. She's taken out a subscription and she's taking time to read through it this month. Beautiful. The Simple Things. I'll watch for it when we're in the UK. This is from Stacy. I wasn't sure how to categorize for posting, but she's hoping that this will become a sweater spin. She has 4 pounds of this fiber and she posted some photos of what the fiber looks like in hashtag sweater spin, and it's beautiful. 67% Romney mixed breed and 37% mohair. It's special because the mohair is from a well-loved goat. I'm spinning it long draw on a new to me Jensen 330D. Love this wheel. Beautiful. And I love her little note over there. First spin on my new beautiful 30-inch Jensen. Isn't that fun? Beautiful spinning as always, Tracy. Just, I love seeing what you create. Amazing. This is from Becca. She's back on her knitting all of her hats and toques. I cast on the latest yarn on nearly immediately, and unsurprisingly it became a hat. Basic 1x1 rib. It was lovely and squishy and warm, and the only thing I would change is tightening up the cast on edge. It was an Italian cast on. Beautiful, Becca. I love your hand spun yarns. They're always so inspirational and beautiful. Yeah. Eve, I wondered if you'd catch that. I said that I created the Dion's sweater spin. I said that she created the fabric on her drum carder. I meant that she created the fiber blend on her drum carder. You're right. I didn't know drum carders could knit either. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific, would it catch most people at some point? I think that even catches down under, Rebecca. I think 9 p.m. catches those who are down under. Anybody, when you're watching this back later, if you're in Australia or New Zealand, can you guys let us know if between like 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. Pacific catches you if you're down under? Because I know sometimes starting earlier, like when you look at people who are trying to catch different time zones, they say, I don't know if this is true or not, but they say in the podcast world that 7 a.m. Pacific is actually the best time zone because is time zone time is the best time because 7 a.m. Pacific catches everyone for the most part. So I think you only miss like a very few places in Asia. So it'd be, I would, yeah, let us know, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific. I love that you guys are organizing this. You guys are the best. This is from Dania, beautiful spinning Dania as always. She finally finished her supported spindle spin of Crux Fiber blended Jacob. It was such an enjoyable spin. Brittany does such a good job prepping fiber that spun like a dream and the colors are so fun. Yes, agreed about Brittany's fiber. I have about 100 meters of each skein and it is a beautiful bouncy band. So happy. Those are that's gorgeous spinning, Dania. Really, really beautiful. Thank you so much, you guys, for sharing everything that you do, for participating in this community. As you can see, you can't kind of stop this train. These guys are so much fun. They're such an amazing group of people. So please don't hesitate to come and join us over on patreon.com/woolenspinning and join the community. The Slack group is very, very active and busy. No matter where you are in the world, somebody will be up at your time of day. And if you're wanting to jump on Zoom or chat or have a chin wag with somebody, trust me, there will be somebody there, happy to troubleshoot with you, chat, keep you company, all those kind of things. It's really an incredible community. They've come up with a name. They've named this, they've planned it, they've picked the date. Like, you can't stop these guys. So if you're on the fence, this, what's going on in chat right now, this is what makes our community amazing. You guys are just never cease to amaze me. You guys have no idea. Actually, you probably do, because I think you're bright lights for each other too. You guys have been such a bright light for me over the last 6 or 8 months. Like, you've been a bright light for like 10 years, don't get me wrong. But in the last 6 or 8 months, there has been so much going on, and you guys have been such a bright light. Not a somewhat light or a dim light or a sort of there light, like a bright, shining, gleaming light. And you guys, have just again and again and again shown up for each other, shown up for me. You guys have been really incredible. So thank you. And this last half of the show, them organizing this whole thing, that is what our community is all about. I love that. So thank you so much. I also love that you guys know when you've created a lot of work for me, because Evelyn just said we just created a lot of extra work for Rachel. But see, this is what also makes it amazing. Rebecca's like, yeah, probably, but I'll help. Like, that's what we end up doing, is we just all pitch in and we all show up, and it's really incredible. So you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. We are calling our marathon the Woolen Spinning. I love that. Woolen Spinning. Well done, Tessa. Well done. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for being here today. You have made me smile in so many ways in such a short period of time. If you want to catch up with us, if you have any questions about our community, if you have any questions for me and you want to know what happens sort of on the back end, behind the paywall of Patreon, please reach out to me and have a conversation. If you're not sure how to navigate, what you're maybe looking for, what would fit for you, please just send me a note and ask questions. I'm happy to sit with you and chat and answer them, because I know sometimes it can be confusing to figure out sort of where you might want to start. Until next time, happy spinning, happy weaving, happy knitting, happy all the things, making fabric, whatever it is that you guys are doing. I hope that you're finding a lot of joy in what you're doing. The Wool Circle is next Tuesday, same time, same place. Rebecca will be taking you on a deep dive of, I think she's looking more deeply at different types of crepe yarns, which is really exciting. And then I will be back with you guys on February 4th. really quickly. So normally what happens in March is spring break is in March, and normally we try to get away. I take a little bit of time off. There's usually only one podcast in March, and I only do one live stream, and then I take the other week off. The same thing usually happens in August and then again in December. So we were originally planning on being away for part of March, and that has all fallen through because of multiple things going on with different arms of the family. It actually didn't have anything to do with us for once. So I am going to move that live stream that I normally take off in March. I'm going to move it to February. I was originally going to do a pre-recorded live stream for while we're away in the UK, but I'm actually going to take that off my plate, and I'm going to say, nope, we'll just have our regular schedule in March. So we'll have a live stream at the beginning of February, and then I will see you guys again at the beginning of March. So there will be a little bit of a gap in programming in February, rather than our regular gap in programming in March. So I hope that's not too confusing, but we're just going to shift things around just a little bit to so that I don't end up going on our trip so incredibly stressed and with my plate overflowing that I spend the first couple of days not enjoying it. So yeah, all right. Yeah, thank you, Dion. She said good idea. I think it'll be better. Just takes the pressure off a little bit. And then I'll have lots and lots to share with you in March, because I probably won't be able to get through everything at the beginning of March, all the stuff that I want to share with you guys. So it'll give me a chance to kind of spread it out over a couple of shows. And I think that would be way more positive and way better anyways. I prefer doing the live rather than doing a pre-recorded show. It's way funner. There's that word again. It's way more fun to interact with you guys in real time. It's kind of the hallmark of the show. So you guys are already on it in the chat because you're amazing, but please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification button so that you hear from me whenever there's a video that gets released. I hope that those of you who are part of Melly Knits, her sommelier club, enjoyed the spinning charms and enjoyed learning about Icelandic. It was my pleasure to create that for you guys. And until next time, happy spinning. Bye, everyone.